Okay, let me start with just saying Khalil Gibran, for those of you not familiar with him, he is a philosopher, poet, is Lebanese in origin, though he had a eventually American nationality. But he was born, I think, 1883 and didn't live long. He only lived 48 years. And he wrote many books. This is the most famous of these books, which is The Prophet. And it has nothing to do with being a prophet or religion, anything like that. It's just a collection of pieces of wisdom. This discussion today is kind of look at it as a primer, but I really want to encourage you to read the actual book because there's not much we can do in a webinar. I don't know how many chapters we'll cover today. I have in mind maybe if we're good, we'll do about 10, but I probably won't get there. And then when I'm finished, I'd really appreciate if you thought this is something you'd like more of, then you write in the comments so I know whether we carry on and do another session at some point with the rest of it or leave it at that, just you have the flavor. As this book has been translated to about 100 languages, and actually, I don't know of any other book that is being translated. Maybe the Bible, I don't know. But it's a very, very popular book in all countries. And part of it is also because it is so brief and to the point. I think people like that. It's not like most philosophical books can be like, 500 pages and more. So let me start with, as I mean to go on, quizzing you. And remember, I'm no authority on this. I've read it, like many of you, I'm sure, read it. But any comments on the title of the presentation? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joyous you can contain, or joy you can contain. Anybody has something to say about that? What does it mean to you? And the longer you take, the more we lose time, and then I don't get a chance to cover more. So if and there's no right and wrong. This is us discussing what this man said. But you can say whatever you want, and it will be just another angle.
It's about sorrow and joy.
Okay. So why does he say the deeper the sorrow, the
It's
more?
actually the sorrow and joy is inseparable. If there is joy, there is sorrow. That's the means that is the theme that he's given in that book.
Okay, so I will talk about it more. As with always, until we have a life example, this is rather meaningless. So I'm going to start with a life example from my life. And some people surprise how I share things that some people would think are not very wise, but here we go. When I was a young man, very young, in fact, I think it must have been 17. So we're talking quite a long time ago. My father asked me to take him to Beirut airport. There weren't many flights out of Amman. Lebanon was the Switzerland of the Middle East at that time. And if you wanted to connect with the rest of the world, you flew out from Beirut. So I took him, and on the way back from the airport, I'm feeling really good about myself. I was driving his Chevrolet, one of these long old cars. And on the way back then, remember, cars were quite different than today. Sort of seat belts didn't exist. Anti-locking brakes didn't exist. There was just a simple car, and there was no tire kind of replacement every 3 years or anything like that. You use them until they completely get consumed. So
What about driving license?
I had a driving license, fortunately. But on the way back, out of nowhere, I was on Beirut Corniche. They call it Rausche there or something. Out of the central reservation jumped this woman. I think she must have been somebody's maid or something. Well, we talk about midnight. So I had an accident. I hit her because the brakes, the car just skidded and skidded, although I saw her from quite a distance. And the police came. We ended up in the police station. And I thought, oh, what a great start to an evening or a night, because I was going to go and see my uncle and spend the night. So I go there, and they say, because we don't know if she has any fracture, if she's got any, suffered anything, you have to wait here till I think, I forget what the doctor comes anyway, who examine her, and then he will tell us if there is any consequences, if there's any issue. So that meant staying from that time about midnight till the morning. And that waiting room is like a prison cell, but it's like a waiting cell in the police stations. Now, if I said to any of you, do you know what's the meaning of freedom? You may be able to give me a lecture on freedom, but if you've not been behind bars, you don't know that. You're only talking intellectual stuff. But when you can't have any vote in anything, you can't get out, you can't move, you can't question, argue, etc. Your freedom is contained. You cannot do anything you want to do. Then you value freedom, because when you go out of that cell, suddenly you're free and everything is behind you. But if you've not experienced, I mean, here I'm using a parallel, sorrow and joy. So the sorrow there, or if you like, the deeper your feeling of containment, of being locked up, the deeper your appreciation of freedom. And that is throughout life is the same story. So I will try, and when I ask you to participate, I'd really appreciate it if you come up with a story. I don't want intellectual, because the book is there, we can go and read it. You can ask any of the LLMs, you can also get an answer there. But you're not necessarily personal, but an example, so that as I've shared with you, people get to appreciate. It's not just saying sorrow and joy are intertwined. Okay, they are. So how do I understand that? It needs an example. That's the idea. Okay, here we go. So let's go to the next one. So first he talks about love. Now, when you hear love, what do you think of? Romantic love, yeah, since the pink and the hearts and so on. But that's not how Khalil Gibran talks about love. He sees it as a force, powerful force. Okay, here like wind is a force that can bring down houses, trees, etc. And this force has a huge impact on our life. So treat love, or this is to help you understand the true meaning of love. Let's see what he has to say. So love threshes you to nakedness. So here I'm using the wheat. So you can already see the energy, the power, and the kind of almost like a violence of making things happen. So it threshes you to your nakedness. So all the pretense in the light of love, and even if you take it between two lovers or spouses, etc., you cannot pretend for long. Love will not allow you to hide. It exposes you and exposes your nakedness, meaning your true personality. As with the flour or wheat, sifts you to free you from the husk. So all your hot air, all your bravados, etc., get sifted away, then grinds you in case you need it. And you find this happens also, say, with if you have children. Children is a huge grinder. They try your patience. They push you. They really, until people who don't have children don't appreciate the impact of having children and what it is, its impact on you. So here it's a form of a grind, is what he's saying. Then kneads you until pliant, as you would do with a dough. So you don't finish with being ground. You're kneaded and you're always molded, etc. And then how do you think it finishes with you? What do you think? What's the next step in making bread? Come on, I'm giving you the easiest one to answer. When you've kneaded the bread, what do you do with it after that? It's a dough. What do you do with the dough after that? It's a difficult question. You just don't want to talk to me.
You bake it. Put it in the oven.
Exactly. And so the metaphor here, even after it thrashed you and sifted you and ground you and so on, kneaded you, then love bakes you in the fierce heat. And you can watch that. Let's say two people, I'm not so sure it's common in the Middle East, but two lovers. You think, the first day you fall in love is fantastic. But wait, when things go wrong, love can burn like anything. And say one of you walks away from the relationship. The other party, it is worse than being put in the fire. Okay, so that is the power of love. It's a purifying process. Okay, so hopefully that's giving you a different idea. So it's not about romance. Romance is just one aspect of love. So he finishes with surrender and follow despite the pain. It's a universal force. You have no choice anyway. You're best to surrender and follow his direction. And that makes life much more livable and enjoyable. On marriage, let me see on the screen. I don't see everybody. Show your hand. How many of you are married? Oh, everybody's married. That's good. Okay. So on marriage, you think, what's he got to say about marriage? He's not a marriage counselor or anything like that. I'm not sure if he married himself even. But on marriage, I found that really profound first time I read it. Be together yet remain apart. What does that mean? You want to be together and yet remain apart. Can you see what the picture is showing? So the pillars in a temple, if you stick them together, you don't have pillars, you have just one column. To support the roof of the temple, you need separate pillars. That space creates the strength. So he's saying, be together, but keep space between you. Some people are too needy and they want you to be right next to them, with them in every action, every meeting, every discussion. That is not creating space for the other to be themselves, to flower by themselves. So he says, be together but remain apart. Maintain your sacred space. So he uses the metaphor of two giant trees, like an oak tree and a cypress tree. They don't grow in each other's shadow. You can't have two giant trees in each other's shadows. If you put them too close, they cannot survive. So big, strong trees keep space. And that's what you want to do also with your loved ones. Give them space, they give you space, both can grow and yet be together. And be like strings of a lute. So this is a lute here. So the strings of a lute, though they, if you like, dance together, quiver together, but there is space between them. If they got too close or intertwined, there is no more music. So I hope you're getting from this what? What is this teaching us? Think about your spouse, whether man, woman. What is it telling you? Come on, don't let me wait. I want us to make the most of our time together.
Give each other space so that you can maintain your uniqueness and and stay happy.
Mm. Right. So if you allow each other space, then you have space to grow, both of you. And there's nothing more stifling than two people or a person getting too close where you can't do anything, can't even see your friends because, no, no, I need you to be with me every minute of the day. Things like that. So space is a show of respect, is an invitation for the other that I am happy for you to grow. So I'll grow, you grow, but we're together. Okay, let's go to another one. On children. Again, show of hand, how many have children? Plenty of children. Very good. Let me ask you, who has more than three? More than three. Anybody with more than three? I raised my hand to show you I have three, but more than three, we only see Ghassan has more than three. No, the others don't have? Okay. So this is again an interesting view. That's why when I called when the invitation, it's radical views. You don't come across these views everywhere. I don't really know. He obviously has had a lot of depth of sorrow because that has created a lot of wisdom in him. But guess what? And this I find a paradox. He was not a happy man. So, despite all this wisdom, when you read the rest of his books, he wasn't really a particularly happy man. So, I'm not really sure what the paradox is here. I did not research it. So, you start with give love, but not impose thoughts or your thoughts. Comment on this one. I'll start calling name because I'm not waiting for you. Doesn't seem to work. Let me ask who do I want to? So Hayab, you're in my screen. Give love but not impose thoughts. First of all, from your experience, not to give me a lecture about what this says. Is this something you do?
Yes. I mean, maybe inadvertently, but not maybe, knowingly, but it gives. I mean, we don't want to impose anything on it that, okay, keep on asking, keep on saying, I love you or you love me and all those things. So it's like giving love can happen in many ways. It's not by saying only. But do not impose what you think that other person also should be doing the same.
Okay, but that's lecturing. Honestly, tell me how many of you don't impose your thinking, your way of thinking? What do you think is right and wrong? What do you think they should do or not do? We love them, but we also want them almost to be like us. We think we know best. Obviously, we mean best, but this is quite a radical statement. Don't impose your thoughts. You can sit and explore with them, but actually forcing that, you're not really helping them. They need to flourish with in your love, but to have their own thoughts, to be able to grow in the safety of your home. So you can house their bodies, but not their souls. Okay. So in your home, under your roof, you can take care of their little bodies, but their souls belong to life, belong to tomorrow. They don't belong to you, as the next one will say. Be like children also. Stay open. Can you stay open minded? Exploring. Can you stay that way? Because children almost force you to play that role. You can't be so strict, so stiff, and so on, and even play with a child. You have to be like them, open for all possibility, all risks, doing things, be silly, be ridiculous to be with children. So don't make them like you. And he says here, they're not yours. What does that mean? Giant, why aren't they yours? I mean, you brought them to life. How come they're not yours?
Basically, in our culture, parents and children are actually considered as bows and arrows. So the purpose of a bow is to give support. A purpose of the bow is to give thrust, and the purpose of the bow is to give them direction. But the job of the arrow is completely different. The arrow has to take its own.
No, stay. What you're saying is true, but you're jumping. The question is, they are not yours. Then we're not talking bow and arrow. I'm coming to that, and maybe he's learned some of it from Hinduism, from Buddhism. I don't know, but why aren't they mine? Or you?
They have their own destiny, and they will not be yours. They have their own carved destiny. They have their own
And who
pursuit.
brought them to life?
Yeah.
Who
We
brought-
may be parents. We may be parents, but they are individual identities. We have a separate journey. They have a separate journey. I am in IT. My daughter is a artist, an interior designer. So we both have very different paths to follow. So I'm just like a bow, and she is the arrow, who's already on her way to her experience.
Yeah, I always think you take a tree, maybe an apple tree. I'll talk about that a bit later. The apples don't belong to tree. Although the tree is appling, if you like, but the apples are actually part of life, life giving to life, not property of the apple tree. But we are strange as human beings. We think my children are mine and I will do what I like. And society is evolving, but we used to think it's perfectly all right to even beat them up because they're mine, I do as I please. That is no longer the case. So let's go to the next one. So they belong to life, which we said. So now we come to the bow, okay? You are the bow and they are the arrow. And all you can do is pull the bow as far as you can to send them on their way. And guess what? Once you release, you have no control what the arrow will do. They left the arrow left the string, it will go wherever it goes. But you are the bow who has put the effort, and he says here, let your, if you like, effort and your pain in pulling the bow, which is bringing them up from infants to children, that is pain, but let it be for gladness, that you suffer the effort happily because you're also participating in life and bringing next generation into life. On eating and drinking, what do you think? What do we have to say about eating and drinking? Let's take the first one. What does it mean? It's an act of worship. What are we worshiping? Anybody?
What we have, I mean, must be, I know there is one thing that we must be happy for what we have, the food and drink.
I'm really happy that you're happy to interact. I'd like each person to speak once, maximum twice, then give a chance to your colleagues. Your speaking is great for me, but they will think, okay, we can sit there and let him answer and say something, and we the spectator. Where's Charlotte? She usually jumps in, but I haven't seen her.
Basically any vegetables kills himself to give a food to the or energy to the people. So we need to give a prayer to the food actually. So maybe it is called act of worship.
And give me an example.
Basically any Japanese before eat any food actually they will pray. And any plants or vegetables it burns themselves give the energy to the human being. So maybe it could be an act of worship.
It can be, let's say you're having a chicken or a steak. Something had to die for you to consume that steak. And life is like that. Something has to consume something. It's all structured that way. But at least you start with gratitude that you have died for me to enjoy and to have sustenance. But it'll also, I will have to die one day and be food for what? What will you be food for when you die? Sandeep, when you die, what will you? What will you be in Ghassan? If you're ready, say what you.
Worms first.
Go back to the nature.
Yes, it will be what, insects and worms. There will be eating. So we're all going to recycle, but at this moment, you've died for me, and hopefully, I didn't make you suffer too much, so I can eat you. Just in the same way, like say a lion and a gazelle. Yes, the lion has to eat gazelles. There's no other choice. But the gazelle lived a decent life, jumped about, etc. And when the lion dispatches them, eat them, it's instantaneous, crush their neck and they eat them. So are we like that, or do we make them suffer like hell in our industrial farming before we eat them? And when we eat them, we're too busy either looking at our phone or talking to our friends. We don't even know what we're eating. Okay, so there's no gratitude to this life that has to be extinguished so you can enjoy it. So in food, and when you express gratitude when you eat, it's huge, because you think you're grateful for that life that was given up for you. But what's happening is that feeling of gratitude within you makes your life much more richer, much more enjoyable. You feel better about yourself. That's why I do this with my wife frequently before we eat, is we say gratitude. Because everything on the table, even if it is just a piece of bread, it took somebody a long time to prepare that bread, to cook that bread, to deliver that bread. It probably involved 100 people. And you just tear it and you have your bit of hummus or whatever you do with it, with no thought of what went on. And that way you deny yourself of the joy of being mindful and grateful for what's on your table. So hopefully this is something you would bear in mind. Unfortunately, we're not doing very well, because maybe I'm talking too much. I should let you talk more, because we are almost half past the hour. I think I'll do work and maybe we'll stop at that. There's quite a bit more, and I will know from you. If you want more, you have to tell me. If I hear from nobody, this will be the last webinar on it, because you don't need me. You can go and read the book, but this gives us a chance just to really share ideas. So on work, let's see what he has to say. Work is love made visible. Let me see. Let me ask Amreen. You're on my screen. Amreen, does that, and don't get cornered if you say, I'm still thinking about it, it's perfectly fine. I haven't formed an opinion, fine. I don't want to be forced to say something out of the blue.
So, what I can see from here is like love whatever you're working. Just work in a way that everybody knows that you're loving your work.
Yeah. So we've discussed love in the first slides. So love is a force of life, and work is how we demonstrate that love. Not everybody does, but if you love what you do, that is love made visible through the work you do. So let's see what he says here. So it says life needs a purpose. We all need a purpose. And purpose needs understanding or knowledge. If you have no understanding, no knowledge, your purpose doesn't get anywhere. Understanding needs action. And that is work. Okay? So life is very, very intelligent. It goes sequentially like that. Action needs love to have value. If you're just acting without love of what you do, you'll be like a robot on an assembly line. There is no value to what you do. And yet, no matter how big or small what you do, if it's done with love, with care, then it has huge value, both to you to the people there. You know, if you've checked into a hotel recently, etc., if the hotel room, if the bed has been done with love and care, you will notice that in how clean the room is, how well made is the bed, is there a flower there, maybe a piece of chocolate, etc. They try to do that. If the chambermaid has done a good job, you will notice it, and that is love made visible. People think, what have they got to love? You know, it's a hard work, etc. Well, you need to work, you need to make a living. You can make a living complaining all the time, or think that is my way of expressing myself, until you can do something better if you wish. But while you're doing it, are you doing it with care and love, or are you doing it because somebody is behind you with a whip? So action needs love. And when you do it with love, it has value, and people see that and appreciate you for what you're doing. Okay, I can go on, but there's quite a few more. Actually, there are in total 21 of them. Okay, so we've covered a few. There's some really interesting ones. I hope we get a chance to cover them together. But if not, I encourage you to read the book. I'm sure it's available as a free PDF, because the guy died in, maybe, what's it, 1923, if I'm not mistaken, or 30. It's been a long time dead, so maybe copyright is not there, and the PDF is available for anyone, or order it on Amazon, you'll get your own copy. So I'm going to stop here and just go fast to the end so that you can have the, yeah. If you didn't like this, I'm much more interested in your comment than the person who gives me 5 star. If this wasn't good enough, tell me why you felt that way. If you liked it, great. And then please, after you rate, leave a comment, specifically the comment of, do you want to see more of these, or shall we move to another topic? Thank you very much, and have a great day.